Howie Roseman might have cooked up the greatest draft of his life over rounds 1, 2, and 3, but on the final day of the draft, the trade addict went up and down the board, drafting some of the most unique talent and potential steals that have everyone, especially the Axeman, very fired up. Let's take a look at the Birds' Day 3 draft picks. I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. Day 3 of the draft came and went, and all Howie Roseman did was set the NFL draft record for trades while grabbing some of the most diamond-in-the-rough talent with the eventual 8 selections the Eagles made this weekend. And naturally, if you missed my breakdown of rounds 1, 2, and 3, Mitchell, DeJean, and Hunt, go down below in the description box. They're all going to be linked right there. One quick thing on Hunt, though. I think it is safe to say he wins the best draft day phone call of maybe the entire weekend.
Jalyx, what's going on, man? It's Howie.
What's up, Big Pimpin'?
We're going to pick you right here, brother. Welcome to Philly. We're excited to get you, man.
Let's go,
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Jalyx. Hey, hold on. Jalyx. Hold on. You hear me? I'm going to Philly.
I don't think he knows him. It's been going crazy there.
Now, of course, after trading down multiple times in round 4 in order to acquire a 2025 third, a 2025 fourth, and a 2025 fifth round draft pick, nice job, Howie, Philadelphia spent their first pick of round 4 on Clemson's running back Will Shipley. Now, Shipley's a little odd and a very fascinating selection, right? The Eagles running back room, it is technically thin once you get past Saquon Barkley, and the 21-year-old Shipley has a chance to compete for RB2 carries following a 2,500, 22 touchdown, and 446 carry performance at Clemson over the past 2 seasons. Oh, and apparently Saquon already reached out to Shipley shortly after he was selected.
A huge Saquon fan. He actually reached out to me pretty quickly after I got drafted, just a couple minutes. So I'm so excited to just share a backfield with all those guys.
I like the Shipley pick. I don't love the Shipley pick. I think it's going to get overshadowed by some of the other selections later on that we're going to talk about as being a little bit more exciting, but it's really going to come down to how well does he look in camp. Can he be a true every down running back in the future? Is he just going to compete with Kenny Gainwell for, RB2 carries? Time is going to tell. An interesting pick, but they clearly loved him, taking him before some of the other running backs off the board. Now, speaking of love, I'm getting married in 6 days, and I decided to issue a little challenge to you guys. I'm 2,000 subs away from 50,000. If we get to 50,000 subs by my wedding day, May 3rd, I'm going to give away an Eagles jersey from any of these rookies that Fanatics has of your choice to one of my subscribers. So, if you want to give me a little wedding gift and also maybe get a jersey in return, one lucky winner, subscribe down below. Let's get to 50K in 6 days if possible. Philadelphia stayed on offense with their next pick, this time going and getting Texas A&M speedster wide receiver and Ainais Smith at the start of round 5. Now, the 23-year-old only caught 53 catches for 2 touchdowns as an Aggie last season, but he finished with a career at A&M as their number 2 leading receiver all time behind Mike Evans. I think his impressive pro day is what really caught the Eagles' attention. They love some of the pro day guys this year. They did a lot of bubble screens, he showed off his deep threat ability, and he's also a return specialist, and so Philadelphia kind of gets a do-everything wide receiver who is either going to be wide receiver 3 or is a big-time project. I can't really decide which one I feel about here. He's probably my least favorite of the day 3 draft picks, but they needed a receiver, and they got one in round 5. Now, the receiver selection immediately got overshadowed because after every single Eagle fan cried and cried and cried for the Eagles to make the move, they gave us what we asked for, and they threw us a bone and drafted Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I could not believe this at 155 overall out of Clemson. Now, you obviously know who this is. He didn't need an introduction. He's the son of the legendary Axeman, an Eagles Hall of Famer, and was captain of the Clemson defense the past 3 seasons and honestly put up some insane numbers. But why did he fall to the 5th round? There were people asking, Thomas, get this guy in round 3. Well, he's just 6 foot tall, and he's a little over 225, leaving many scouts to wonder, is he big enough to be a Mike linebacker at the next level in the NFL? And I, of course, have my doubts. I've said that, but I love the pick, and I love giving the kid a chance to prove himself, follow in his father's footsteps, and yes, he has said he will wear number 54. Oh, and legendary NFL analyst Greg Cosell told Ross Tucker a couple weeks ago that the film, at least, of this kid coming out of Clemson is pretty darn good.
Jeremiah Trotter's tape is really good. He was a fun watch. He's such a smart, savvy, aware player, sees things immediately. He's one of those guys, the term we always use is key and diagnose. He sees it, he attacks. He's a really good blitzer. He's just 6 feet, 228. That's going to be seen as small. Some teams will say, you know what? Not for me. but his tape is really good. And we know who his dad is. I remember his dad sitting with me here in my office at NFL Films watching tape when he retired.
Now, much like all day 3 picks, we got to get this guy in camp. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has got to come to camp and prove that he belongs on an NFL football field, because that's the big knock, being a 5th-round draft pick and not being taken as high as round 2 in some mock drafts a couple of months ago. Still, though, the linebacker room is a little weak. It's obviously pretty thin. I mean, Devin White is obviously there. You obviously have Jacoby Dean. But after that, the open spots there for a linebacker role are really all over the place. You could be one injury away from starting in Philadelphia. Show us what you got in camp. I'm excited to follow him over the next couple of months. Philadelphia rounded out their multitude of round 5 picks with a Jeff Stoutland hand-selected guard and Michigan's Trevor Keegan. And I don't really know how to say this, but I'm shocked he fell to round 5. I mean, he's 6'5", 310 pounds, and started every game during his 3 seasons at Michigan. Oh, and he didn't allow a sack last year and had a career-high pass blocking grade. Overall, not bad. I think he instantly has a chance to start at right guard. Now, Tyler Steen has a year head start. I think he obviously is the leader in the clubhouse, but this is a guy who obviously played at Michigan, has started a ton of games, is the right size, and has been an absolute mauler throughout his college career. If he can just start to learn to speak Jeff Stoutlandese, as we always say, maybe not this year, but in a couple of seasons, he could really become an interior offensive line menace in the National Football League. Now, entering round 6, I think my favorite pick of the day had to be Philadelphia grabbing Florida State's 6'7", yes, monster of a wide receiver, Johnny Wilson, who, of course, impressed the Birds during a top 30 visit a couple of weeks ago. But I think it was his 4.53 40 at 238 pounds at the combine that probably got him drafted. Now, there's a chance he could get some looks at tight end. I've seen a couple of people mention that on Twitter, but the Eagles have always loved these bigger project receivers in the later rounds, trying to find somebody who can just be a ball hawk, go up and get it with all of his range. Will he be the one that finally hits? I don't know, but Johnny Wilson is an athletic freak, and I love him in the 6th round. Finally, last but not least, how about a 6th-round center with insane athletic... Wait a second. No, unfortunately, it's not that 6th-round center with insane athleticism. It's NC State's Dylan McMahon. Because, of course, they went and got a center with the 3rd highest athleticism score out of any center since 2003, 3 points behind number 2, who was someone you would recognize. He also started 23 games at right guard and 7 at left guard, and so the Birds can do what we all expect, and that is add fresh meat to the Stoutland meat grinder to see what comes out, maybe a polished starter in a couple of years' time, and at worst, a backup guard on what is an offensive line depth-needy team. And as always, day 3 picks are extremely hard to gauge. Like, some people are going to say, oh, you reach for that player, and then that player becomes a star. Or that's a diamond in the rough, and then that player becomes a bust. We really don't know if these guys are going to be good or not. It's all my guess versus your guess, your word versus my word. However, I think the scope of this draft really deserves probably one of the best grades I've ever given a Howie Roseman draft. I think you're looking at an A- from picks 1 all the way down to pick 8. I think overall, we have to be very impressed with the first 2 picks. I think Jalyx Hunt is the wild card here. If he turns into a good player, a serviceable level starter, kind of like Milton Williams did in the 3rd round a couple of years ago, this becomes an A+ draft. If he does not become anything special, he becomes a Davion Taylor, for instance, it's a B- draft. That's kind of the little wild card there. Everybody else here, the offensive linemen should definitely make the roster. The receivers are going to be interesting, and then all eyes are going to be on the 2 Clemson players in Will Shipley and obviously Trotter Jr. Now, all these guys need to get to Philadelphia, and you're going to have plenty more coverage coming up next week as I march towards my wedding with as many shows as I possibly can. What a fun draft night. What a fun draft weekend. I hope you guys had a blast. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.